Here's another one for you guys that I'm going to, I'm going to try to throw some advice out here. There are a lot of people that are psyched about Fable, okay? And I get it. I understand it. I still own the original Fable. I love Fable. Okay? I love Fable. I own the original Fable on original Xbox. Still got the console. Still got the game. Fable is an iconic game. Well, what you have to know before anything else about this game and this project right now is that Fable 4 is something I think people need to be hesitant about your expectations regarding this game due to the fact that it is Playground Games developing this. If you don't know who Playground Games is literally only ever done the Forza games, like Forza Horizon. If you go look at the latest Forza game, it's hot garbage. So what makes people believe? Now, they're not the only developer that worked on Forza Horizon, but they definitely played a part in it. And if that game can't be done correctly, what makes anybody think that Playground Games is going to be able to take a game in a genre that they've never done before and do it well? Okay? So, while I know that this is, and again, that's another thing to consider here. Playground Games is taking over the Fable franchise. This is not developers that have worked on Fable in the past. So, there are two things to be very, very concerned about here. You're taking a developer that didn't ever work on Fable in the past, that is now taking over the franchise, and you're giving them the reins to an iconic franchise, and people are just expecting it to be good. I mean, why? It's also a studio that has never done a genre like this before. And don't get me wrong, I love seeing studios step outside of their comfort zone and prove to us that they can do more than what they're just renownedly good at, or they've been doing for so long. Like, take for instance Tango. Tango's known for doing horror-esque games, right? Evil Within 1 and 2, then it was Ghostwire Tokyo, and then they brought us Hi-Fi Rush, which was something totally different and amazing. I love seeing that. I love seeing the versatility. Show us that you can do different stuff, right? I love it, and I hope this is good. It's not, Davey. It's not. I'll pull it up. Yeah, it's still in early access, like 10 years later. Yeah, I use that as an example sometimes. Yeah. So I think that people just need to be hesitant, hinder your expectations a little bit for what Fable's going to be bringing to the table, and don't get too caught up in the fact that it's going to be automatically good just because the name is on this Fable, right? You have to understand what is happening on the underside of what the development process is here in this game. It is a studio that's never done this kind of game, and it's not the studio that normally did Fable. You've got to know that. Well, I hope it's good. I hope every game's good. That's not the reality we live in. And if you're blindly going into this going, it's Fable, it's going to be amazing, I've got news for you, man. That's not the way this world works. Okay? I hope it's great. But there's big giant butts in there, dude. All right? So be careful with this, man. Though very little has been seen of Fable 4, it could end up being a slight cut above other fantasy RPGs thanks to just one very simple feature. Fable's return is eagerly anticipated with dark humor intact, though details remain scarce. Player character in the next Fable game needs to be a jack of all trades, specializing in many skills. A third-person camera angle has been integral for Fable's identity, giving it an edge over upcoming RPG competition. I'll tell you who should have done this game. I'll tell you right now who I think should have done this game, what studio should have done this game, was Obsidian. I think Obsidian should have done this game, not Playground Games. Obsidian probably had too much on their plate. doing Avowed and some other stuff. But I think Obsidian would have been a fantastic studio to bring Fable back to us. I think that had Obsidian been given the opportunity to do Fable, it probably would have ended up being a better than what it will be with Playground Games behind it. I'll be just bluntly honest with you. After a rather lengthy hiatus, the Fable franchise is set to make its triumphant return at some point in the near future, though details are pretty scarce still. At the time of writing, there have been only 2 official Fable trailers released so far, both of which are completely CG. And yeah, this is what I'm trying to tell people too. There were so many people that were hyped after the trailers that we'd seen, and they're like, oh, it looks so good, it looks like it's going to be so fun. I was like, dude, it's just cinematics. You can't get hyped off that. You can't let that happen to you. Cinematics are not giving you any kind of idea of what you're going to experience in the game. That is a tried and true bait mechanic from developers. Don't let them do it to you. Don't let them do it to you, man. Even with trailers where they show you gameplay, developers are still going to show you gameplay that is going to entice you and show you the best parts of a game. Cinematics literally show you nothing of what you're going to experience as a game player in the game. Don't let them bait you like that, man. That said, these trailers aren't devoid of purpose, revealing that the trademark Fable dark humor is still very much intact, which is good all these years later, even despite a new studio taking the helm. Simply categorized as a fantasy action RPG for now, Fable has a lot of pressure on its shoulders, not only having to please the franchise's longtime fans and bring newcomers on board, but also having to stand out in a market that seems to be constantly bombarded with excellent new fantasy RPG experiences. But hopefully, Fable might have something simple under its belt that could at least set it apart from the likes of Avowed and the Elder Scrolls 6. Third-person camera angle could set Fable 4 apart. I like that they didn't even say who's developing this. They just said, a developer. Every Fable game bar has one used. Bar 1 has used a third-person camera angle, putting the player's perspective just behind the character's back. For the most part, it suits the series perfectly. One of the Fable series' greatest draws was its sense of scale and its vast, rich fantasy world filled with a variety of both appealing and intimidating locations. The Fable series' third-person camera perspective added a level of fantastical intrigue and wonder to the series' exploration, whereas a first-person camera angle may have made its locations feel slightly too oppressive or claustrophobic. Though the Fable franchise never really had players create their own character, the series' third-person perspective does help to forge a connection between the player and their in-game avatar, with their button inputs resulting in direct actions on screen, slowly building a subtle connection over time. This was further reinforced by Fable's customization options. Though they were sparse, customization options such as hairstyles, tattoos, and equipment helped to make the player's character feel like their own, and seeing those cosmetic changes on screen at all times helped to further that feeling. Let me say something right now about the main character in this game. People are throwing a fit already that this game has a female protagonist. I think it's hilarious. Why? Why are you throwing a fit that now there's a female that's the lead in this game? It's not like the game ever had a large, character creation model. It was just, every other game it was a dude. So 4 iterations into the series, why can't we have a female as the lead? We've had a male 3 times now. Why can't there be a female? People are throwing a fit about it. It's like, come on, man. Just knock it off, dude. Like, come on, man. Though it hasn't been officially confirmed in Fable will have a third-person camera perspective, it really should, with it being a core piece of the franchise's identity up until now. Aside from that element, Fable having a third-person camera angle would also give it a unique edge over a few members of its competition. 7 Days to Die's live service game ahead of its time. Yo, what up, Pinky? That first-person camera angle might be off-putting to anyone who prefers to see their custom character, custom loadout shown at all times during gameplay. A first-person perspective can add a much deeper layer of immersion to a game, but that doesn't mean that third-person games can't be just as immersive. They might need to try a bit harder. Plenty of examples of this in recent memory, with The Witcher 3, Dragon's Dogma, and most recently Baldur's Gate 3 all being incredibly immersive third-person RPGs. Or check this out. How about games nowadays that allow you to select which one you want? You can play as either first person or third person. Wow, what a novel idea. Playing Lethal? Word up, dog. How's it going? Good to see you, buddy. Happy Sunday, man. So, look, man, I think that while we all, you know, are praying and hoping that Fable's going to be something worth diving into, I think your expectations have to be a bit, you know, you got to be worried a little bit here, okay? Your expectations need to be a little bit low. It's just solely based off the fact this is Playground Games. They've never done a genre like this before, and this is not a company that's ever done Fable before, obviously, because they've never done this genre before. You got to know that this is potentially not going to play out the best way possible. I hope they do great. I hope they show us that this is, you know, they're versatile as a developer and they can do things beyond just racing car games, you know. But until they prove that to us, we have to be a bit worried here, okay? That's just all there is to it.